Hey, it's Dan, and welcome to Unified Gaming. So in this one, we're going to play Trash or Grab, the game where we check the golden vendor and the weekly vendors to see are the items worth grabbing, or are they absolute trash. As always, this is recorded on the weekend to cover all vendors in one video, and they do have rotating stock. This is recorded on the 26th of April 2025, so if you are watching in the future, it will be different. That said, if you like this series, then likes and comments are greatly appreciated. As for the vendor herself, you can locate her in Cyrodiil, and if you're on DC, she's found in the Northern High Rock Gate. If you're on Aldmeri Dominion, she's found in the Western Elsewhere Gate. And if you're on the Ebonheart Pat, she's in the Southern Morrowind Gate. With the series itself, we will cover all vendors, so Telvar, Infinite Archive, Scholarium and more. So if you want to stay up to date with this from a PvP perspective, then do subscribe if you haven't already. The items this week are the Leeching Plate Necklace. When you take damage, a cloud appears underneath you, it does poison damage and you heal for the damage caused. This is a really good tank set for PvE. In my opinion, if you're new to tanking, this is like a must get. You can obviously buy this with gold or with AP. It is a dungeon set, so you can't trade it sadly, but it's a very, very good set. I would suggest though that just farm the armor pieces, they're easy to get. It's a very, very fun set to use, but that's about it. The one thing to note is that if you use this in more optimized groups or trials, it's not going to work there. It's more for like you're solo tanking with random people, or you're doing like the Dragon Star Arena. That's kind of where this shines. Beyond that, it's a selfish tank set. There are better group sets, in all honesty. You then have Martial Knowledge. So this has some damage on the 2 and 3 pieces. When your stamina is below 50%, your light attacks cause the enemy to take more damage. It's hit and miss. From a PvP perspective, this isn't worth running. In all honesty, even in a big group, it's just not worth it. So I would personally suggest by skipping this. That said, if you're in like a PvE player and you're on a healer maybe, or a support tank, or like an off DPS, this may be usable, but I wouldn't like rush to buy this. There are better sets in my opinion. We then have Imperium. So when you take damage, you get a shield, and you and your allies also get this. The shield is pretty small in all honesty. It also gets reduced in Cyrodiil because of Battle Spirit. So for that reason alone, I would just skip this for PvP. It is not worth it. The cooldown is way too large. For PvE, it's not terrible. Like, it's an okay pseudo healer set. If you don't have any healing sets, maybe buy this. Again, it is a dungeon set, so I wouldn't rush to get it, but you know, it has some uses. We then have the Order Dugna set. This is like terrible. It basically increases your healing taken, so it's kind of like a selfish tank set. You would not use this on a DPS. You would not use this on a healer. PvP, you would just not use this. They're better sets, so I would skip this in all honesty. We then have shoulders this week, so I always recommend if there are shoulders to consider getting them, just because you have the ability to like avoid the RNG from the keys, and with transmutes and stuff being around, it's easy to fill the sticker book this way. It's also worth, these are also DLC sets, so if you don't have ESO Plus or are missing these dungeons, then do consider them too. The first one is the Lady Thorn set. The 1 piece gives us max health, and the 2 piece says casting an ability that costs health spawns a blood pool for 10 seconds. It's like a 10-second cooldown. You or an ally can activate a synergy doing damage around you, and it applies maim to enemies' hits. The damage scales off the person's max health. It's not a huge amount of damage even if you go on a tank, but it's quite a fun set. I wouldn't rush to buy this in all honesty, but if you don't have access to this dungeon, it doesn't hurt buying it if you've got some spare money or AP around. We then have Nazare. Nazare increases your health, and then when you use an ultimate ability, the closest 6 enemies within 12 meters have all their major and minor debuffs applied to them, extended by 1 second per 20 ult spell. It's a support set in all honesty. It's not a bad set. This is quite a decent tanking set. If you want to like be a support off tank, you could use this on a healer. I wouldn't rush to buy it, but the way in which you use this is that you just get more debuff uptime. In an optimized group, it isn't really needed because generally you would have these debuffs up most, if not all of the time anyway, because of how you stack things. but it's just a good way to extend some debuffs like Major Vulnerability, for example. So it's pretty good to like keep 100% uptime on that debuff. So I would like suggest getting this if you have some spare money. Me personally, because I play PvP mainly, I wouldn't use this in PvP. It's not that great. The radius is quite small, they need to be next to you. So I would suggest just buying the gold if you can afford it, which is what I would do just to fill my sticker book. And for a tanking set, it's not terrible, as I said. You can like get really, really high uptime on Major Vulnerability of some sets. So for the Golden Vendor this week, the items are a bit hit and miss in all honesty. They're not great. What we are now going to do is to now check over in the Infinite Archive. And here we check the leads to see are there any good leads for mythic items, because some of the mythic items are really, really hard to farm. We then also check are there any good scripts with the scribing system. And on top of that, we then sort of see if there's any cool cosmetics. If you like this series and want to stay up to date with it, then do subscribe and let me know what you think. Once we get into the Infinite Archive, we are going to look for a vendor called Filer All, and he will allow us to buy items with the currency from here, Infinite Archival Fortunes. He can be located in the far east at the back, and once here, he will sell you a range of things. So this week we have the following. We have Smash, so we got the set for the Cryptic Cannon investments. It's not great in all honesty. This basically is a gimmicky mythic. We then have Sirabane's Ward, another gimmicky mythic. So these alone I'll just skip, they're like terrible. The mythics themselves aren't great. If you are trying to like farm the mythic, maybe, but I wouldn't rush to buy them. You can then get Celestrix as a style page, which it looks pretty cool, but this is bind and pickup, so you can't trade it. So I personally just say keep your fortunes and skip this. As for the scripts this week, we have Cowardice, Lifesteal, Restore Resources, and Immobilize and Strike. These are all pretty like mid in all honesty, they're not great, so I wouldn't rush to buy them. You might also notice the price difference is slightly different, and that's because some of these I know are my characters, so that's why they're cheaper, and some of them I don't. So if you were to buy one, maybe Immobilize and Strike. The Immobilize and Strike can be quite useful if you don't have access to Talons, but with subclassing coming next, patch, I don't think this is worth like rushing to get. And the rest of them are like, yeah. We're then going to go all the way over to the Scholarium now, so you need access to Avea. And it is worth stressing that when you get to the Scholarium, if you don't have access to the Gold Road DLC, and you haven't completed the main quest line for it, you won't be able to get into this place nor see the vendor. I also want to state at this moment in time that ZOS have come out and said they're going to make this part of the game, the scribing system, base game going forward. So if you are watching this and you go, oh, I really want to access the scripts and stuff in this system, well, in a patch or so, they're hoping like within the next patch, you'll be able to do this for free, which is a massive, massive like quality of life feature. So really well done there, ZOS. Once you get here, you look for Fernandel. He's down here. He sells a range of different things. So you get all the sort of Grimoires if you haven't got them. He's selling Berserk, Mangle, Frost, and Cruelty. These are really good. Like there's some really good ones here. Frost is fantastic. This is like a must buy. If you do not have this, buy this. I would also suggest you do this as well. So if you buy one, it says I have this script, which is a bit like, I need to now switch to all of my other characters, which is tedious. If you happen to have a bank with you, what you can do is you can deposit it, and you can just go and buy it again.
But of course you do.
So this is why they've made like the banking system and these script like style pages and scripts and stuff be sort of tradable between your characters. So for that reason alone, I would recommend, if you don't have a couple of these, buy a few of them. They are very, very good. The one reason you use this is because it gives you access to the set Winterborn. Winterborn's quite a hard set to proc. So for people curious what is Winterborn, it is primarily a PvP set in all honesty. It's an arena set and it comes from Maelstrom Arena. And here it says when you deal frost damage, you summon an ice pillar that deals damage. It also snares people. The advantage of this is that it does proc instantly. There's like no delay. Tarnished Nightmare has like a 1.3 second delay. This does not, which means this is instant damage. It is incredibly good on gank builds where you're trying to kill people really, really fast. It is a bit tedious to farm, but it's incredibly strong. It is worth noting that this is frost damage, so the ice glyph does not proc it, but ice light attacks do, any ice skill will do it. So for that reason alone, I would recommend getting this. The Berserk is nice on the banner skill, but because of the nerf to banner, I wouldn't rush to buy this. You can get Minor Berserk from Camo Hunter anyway quite easily. So I would recommend, in all honesty, get this if you're on a kind of support group build, but it's not like essential. Mangle reduces people's max health when you hit them with it. It's okay, it's not amazing, it's not terrible, it's okay. Then Anchorette's Cruelty. This is a fun sort of one to use, but it's not like great. You might also notice that I haven't got my add-ons on just yet because I actually am on a new PC, so if the audio and stuff is slightly different, apologies for that. But with Anchorette's Cruelty, you go to Willed Soul, and what this does down here when you use it is it gives you access to Oblivion damage. So you will see, for example, that we now have access to the ability here, and it is a Oblivion damage over time. The more health they have, the more damage you do. Now, it's a very gimmicky, it's not like one to rush for, but the advantage of this is that it does have a like pseudo scale in execute, and you can also pair it on the Soul Burst as well and get 2 Oblivion dots on them, which means when you stack these together with, say, Night Slayer and then the Warcry of Chief that reduces people's healing when they take damage over time, and just damage, you end up getting a sort of combo that is really nasty against tanky players because they can't bypass the hit damage because it's bypassing their armor. They can't heal through it because you're reducing the healing with the monster set. So it's a really, really good way to use this script. It's a really troll dual build, basically. But that's kind of the stuff there. The last place we now check is the Telvar vendor. And the Telvar vendor can be located in the Imperial City. And here this vendor sells things for Telvar, as given by the name, but they are very, very expensive. I always recommend when you get here, have a look for this icon. It's a little black anvil with a fire above it. And you're going to move all the way to the back, and you're looking for the vendor that says the Telvar vendor, which sounds a bit silly, but there are lots of vendors here. It's easy to get mixed up. But it's this one around here, and it literally says Telvar Merchant. So all of them are like really confusing. She looks like an orc if you're on DC. She may be different on the other alliances. Here she is selling Imperial Physique. This is a fantastic set. Now, this is absolutely brilliant. Is it worth 100k Telvar? No. Like, it's not worth that much, but it's a fantastic set. While you're in Imperial City and you have loads of Telvar, you get more max resource. If you have a 4 times Telvar stone multiplier, you get 600% of that max number, so you get 6,000 resource. With like a sorcerer where you can push the magicka higher with their passives and their armor, Bound Aegis, etc., you end up getting loads and loads of magicka out of this and loads of damage as a result. It is a very, very, very strong set. The issue is you have to carry loads of Telvar, which means if you get killed, you lose loads of money. So it's a fun set. Yeah. The other thing to note as well is when you carry this, you have a giant blue beam sticking out of your head going to the sky so people can see you. They know you're rich. So again, it's like a massive target on your back, but a very, very cool set. I personally would recommend just trading for this if you don't own it. It's fun. Or you get it on the armor. We then have the Shell Splitter Amulet. So when an enemy blocks one of your attacks, you increase your penetration against them. This is really cool in principle, but the problem is that in PvP, it doesn't last long enough between, you doing the damage and the debuff applying, and what ends up happening is that when they move around and stuff, they're not blocking, so then it doesn't give you the penetration. If it was when they take damage, they get 300 penetration, but it's every 0.25 seconds, this would be really good on the beam. But beyond that, it's just like, this isn't really worth using. I'd skip this. We have 2 leads. We have a lead for the Falofri Mage's Amulet. This is really, really, really good. So this is a mythic item that I actually have on this character. And I would recommend, if you're playing as a beam build on an Arcanist, consider getting this. So what this does is it increases your damage done to monsters by 15%. You get minor force, increasing your crit damage, but your light and heavy attacks do 99% less damage, which means you can't heavy attack. It takes away heavy attacks, light attacks for damage. They just are not worth it. But it increases all of your damage massively. So with that reason in mind, the way in which you use this is that you use this on an Arcanist or on a build where you're spamming a channel skill. The Arcanists have access to Pragmatic Fate Carver, which scales really high with the Crux attached to it. You then obviously have that 15% boost, which increases this base, that then gets increased by this one down here. You then get really good damage. So this is a really, really nice quality of life mythic, if you can get it. So I would consider buying this. The one thing to note though, that this is kind of a Arcanist only mythic in my opinion, maybe Templar at most, and it's 25k Telvar. That said, it does drop from a dungeon, and you have to do the random trophy chests in the dungeon, so it drops from Scrivener's Hall. So it's quite a hard lead to find. So I would probably buy this if you are going to pick anything up this week and just rush to get this. We then have the panels of the Earth Bones, and this is the Stormweaver's Cravat. It's a terrible mythic, just skip this. Script wise, we have Empower, Pull, and War Mage's Defense. All are pretty mid. War Mages can be nice on some niche skills, but I wouldn't rush to buy this. Gladiator's Tenacity is a better defense in my opinion. This just gives you big shields. So again, it's not really worth it. So all in all, the items this week are a bit mid. The only really things I'd focus on getting is maybe this lead. It's a really good mythic. Maybe get the Nazare monster pieces. They're pretty decent as well. The scripts in the Scholarium are pretty good, that Frost one especially. But beyond that, it's kind of an average week. If you get any questions about sets and stuff, then let me know in the comments. And if you like what I do here, then likes, comments are greatly appreciated. And if you haven't done so, do subscribe. And as always, a massive thank you to the YouTube and Patreon members who get exclusive content, early access to the videos, and much more. If you want to support myself and get all that, there's details down below. Until the next one, take care guys. Bye!